guys, and welcome to the Coffin Hero Show, coming at you both through the podcast network, but also through YouTube as well. So it's up to yourself whether you want to look at this pretty face or just listen to these dulcet tones. Alan, the host of, is your host this evening, owner of Coffin Heroes in Belfast, flying solo tonight. Keith is off on holiday for a couple of weeks, well deserved. But we want to keep on top of it and make sure we've got fresh content coming in. So I'll be flying solo, as I say, for a couple of weeks. So Keith will, of course, be welcome back with open arms as soon as he returns. But I just wanted to drop a short episode just on a massive announcement that came through in the last couple of days. I believe it was May 27th. Some of you may already have heard of this, but for those who haven't, I wanted to keep you guys up to date. So it was first reported by Entertainment Weekly. The knowledge dropped that we are now going to get a Marvel and DC crossover. It's going to be a couple of single issues to start off with, one published and written by Marvel writers and artists, and one published and written by DC writers and artists. So, I mean, when it comes to crossovers, it's not the first time, certainly, that DC and Marvel have done this. You know, you go all the way back to 1976, you had the Superman versus the Amazing Spider-Man. You had DC versus Marvel over the years, you had Amalgam Comics, you had different things. But the last time they did this was 2003, and that was Kurt Busiek and George Perez going back to the JLA Avengers crossover then. You know, looking at the Entertainment Weekly article, they have interviewed a couple of people who are obviously very important in this. So first of all, Dan Buckley, president of Marvel, explains a lot of things have to align. Mostly we plan our editorial schedule pretty far out. DC also does their schedule pretty far out. You want to have the right talent involved because with this type of thing, you want to elevate it as much as you can to get people excited. Jim Lee, the president, chief creative officer and publisher for DC, says DC typically works 2 to 3 years in advance. So it happens kind of once every generation of readers. I'll leave you to draw your own conclusions as to why. The timing has to be right in that you don't want to do these too often. You want them to feel special. It is sort of finding that right moment for both companies to come together because it is complex. There's a lot more coordination, collaboration, approvals that have to be done. And obviously from the business side, you're sharing revenue. But it's going to be a big deal, so you want the story creatively to warrant the hype of it all. So we first speculated that this was going to happen. Towards the end of last year, we had the DC and Marvel omnibuses being reprinted. So there was 2 different ones. One was focusing on like DC versus Marvel and all the tie-ins and team-ups and all that kind of thing. And the other one was the Amalgam omnibus, which was, again, mixtures of those 2 different characters, you know, put together and original stories told there. So we ordered massive on those omnibuses because we got the feeling that when they printed these, you probably wouldn't see them again for a while. You know, I probably got in a total of 50 omnibus in total, which if you know, if you come into the store and you see how we're set up, I mean, that's a massive amount of omnibus for us. Obviously with a big price point as well. We do offer them below RRP, and we do have a couple still in store if you are interested. But we ordered big on it because, you know, it was such a momentous printing. But it's not too surprising then to see that DC and Marvel are finally collaborating. So the announcement came out that the next crossover is finally here, and it's going to be Batman and Deadpool. So there's going to be 2 one-shots. You're going to have Batman Deadpool, so lead with Batman first. That's the one done by DC, and then Deadpool Batman, that's the one done by Marvel. So Deadpool Batman on the Marvel side is going to be written by Zeb Wells. Yes, that one. With art by Greg Capullo, which is still so weird to me. I think of Greg Capullo as a DC artist just because of the seminal work he did with Scott Snyder, Batman New 52, Dark Knight's Metal, etc., etc. The DC side of things, I have to say their creative team for me has me much more excited, and that is Grant Morrison writing and Dan Mora on art. I mean, Grant Morrison's resume speaks for itself. He's written some of the best comics in history. He's written also some of the most confusing comics in history. But his stuff is always original and always, you know, one of a kind. So with him writing and then Dan Mora on art, Dan Mora for me is up there in the top 3 comic artists working today. I refer to him all the time as a modern day Jim Lee, very similar styles, but his prolificity is unbelievable. I mean, he recently finished off Once and Future with Kieran Gillen, an amazing book through Boom Studios. He's been a Power Rangers artist. He's done Batman Superman World's Finest. He's done Detective Comics with Mariko Tamaki. He's done Future State stuff. He's done the main Superman book. He did Absolute Power. So absolute machine. But going back a few years, he did a title with Grant Morrison called Klaus, released through Boom Studios. and Grant Morrison said he wanted to work with him again. So this seems like the perfect project for this. So the story kicking off this September 17th tells how Wade Wilson is hired for a job in Gotham City that puts him in the crosshairs of the world's greatest detective. Accompanying the main one-shot will be a lineup of backup adventures that features exciting Marvel and DC character matchups. However, details on what that entails, including the creative teams, will be shared at a later date. So we will wait and see what happens there. I mean, Grant Morrison, just to have it here, he says, I don't do many comics these days, but there was no way I could turn down the chance to work with Dan again, one of my all-time favorite artistic collaborators. And definitely no way I could turn down Batman and Deadpool. Expect fourth wall busting mayhem, owls, blood, blades, and at least one giant typewriter. So, it's I'll be lying if I didn't say I was surprised by the pairing that they've went with. Batman is a no-brainer. Batman is, arguably and probably easily, to be honest, DC's biggest selling character. I mean, for a long time in store, Batman was our top pull. It's still our top pull from the main universe. Absolute books are outselling the main universe. But then again, you go to the Absolute books, and Absolute Batman's number one selling book. So Batman's a no-brainer to launch this kind of thing. Deadpool's a little bit more surprising. My opinion on it is that they've chosen Deadpool because he appeals to the casual comic readers. So it's hopefully a way of inviting new readers into the industry, which would be a great thing. The Deadpool movies make big money. They're always all over social media. They're always involved in TikToks and GIFs and all sorts. But comic-wise, Deadpool, for us anyway, and again, I can only comment from our store, but Deadpool is not the biggest seller in the world. We've maybe 9, 10 people on Deadpool and Deadpool-adjacent titles, like Deadpool Wolverine, for example. So it's an interesting one to put these two together. I mean, Grant Morrison's involvement does have me excited, I must be honest. Just the sheer novelty of this being the first ever crossover when we have a store is very exciting as well. And I'm just curious to see what other sort of team-ups there are going to be. So pre-orders are already open on this. You can get in touch with the store. We can add this to your pull list. At the moment, any pre-orders will just be cover A. I have absolutely no doubt there will be a plethora of variant covers released for this. And as they get announced closer to the time, if you prefer a variant instead of A, just let us know, or as well as whatever suits. But yeah, I have a feeling this is going to be big. I mean, we'll order big on it, of course, but it's always better if we have a rough idea, at least, the demand in terms of people adding it to their pull list. So if you are interested in it, just get in touch with it. And as I say, we'll get it added to your list. Feel free to sound off in the comments below what sort of team-ups you would like to see or what creators you would like to see working on some of these. I mean, a couple of my ones that came to mind, I would love a Zatanna Doctor Strange. I think could be really, really interesting. I think a Deathstroke Deadpool would have been the way to go, personally, with using Deadpool. I have to say that. But the one that came to my mind that I think would be really cool, but it'll never happen, is a Joker Punisher one. Punisher is someone who has no scruples about killing. Joker's, sort of whimsy and maniacal side has always been tempered by the fact that he knows Batman won't kill him. The Punisher would certainly kill him. So it could be a really exciting sort of chase book. But as I say, I don't see that happening, but I think it would be a cool book. But as I say, sound off in the comments. Let me know what you guys think should be the creative teams working on this, and also the crossovers as well. But yeah, as I say, just wanted to drop a really quick episode. We want to keep the content rolling in. Keith may be away, but I'm here to keep you guys up to date and throw a few opinions your way. So hopefully you enjoy it. So as ever, thank you for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll hopefully see you guys in the store soon. Until then, if you need Batman Deadpool, you know who to get in touch with. Take it easy.